Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and it is a joy for me to introduce you to our next guest, Marsha Dunstan, author of The Complete Guide to Dream Interpretation, a simple step-by-step process to biblical interpretation. She joined us as a regular featured guest of Revealing the Truth on the first Wednesday of every month at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Marsha Dunstan has been helping others understand their dreams for over 15 years after receiving training through John Paul Jackson's Institute for Spiritual Development. She now runs a dream interpretation and teaching ministry from her church and provides free teaching and interpretation for people as a ministry of her church and through her website at mtdunstan.com. She resides in Kansas City, Missouri. You can find her through her website or on Facebook at Marsha Dunstan. And she takes your dreams, if you'll send them to her, and will send you the interpretation. Marsha, what a joy to have you back here on the program and to welcome you, officially welcome you as a featured guest, regular appearing here every month so that we can have this special time together.
Well, thank you, Eric. I'm really grateful to be here.
Well, it's a delight to have you. We got a lot of discussion points in about the book, but in our last visit, but I want to make sure that people understand what this is and what it is not, because I think when we get in this, I just got a pitch, oddly enough, and the pitch was psychic abilities are often overlooked. And I'm thinking to myself, you know we're a biblical program. Why are you sending me something about psychic abilities? Well, I thought about the timing of the email. It came in exactly at the time we went live. So I know that there's an authentic, and I know the counterfeiter is saying, well, before he gets all these people worked up about Marsha in the Bible, I'm going to throw in this psychic, this soothsayer, this spiritist, this other way that everybody has wrapped these Gene Dixon kind of horoscopical, reading the stars kind of crazy making, and present it in a new age, and then that will discount her credibility and diminish her effectiveness. And I just wrote them a rebuke and said, take me off your list. We don't talk to the dead here on Revealing the Truth. We talk to the God of the living, and that's who we are, and that's what we do. So tell us about the Guide to Dream Interpretation. You went through this John Paul Jackson Institute for Spiritual Development. We didn't really talk about that the last time. What prompted you to go, and what was it that really changed you into becoming somebody so what I would consider to be it's not just the complete guide to dream interpretation, it's the Encyclopedia Britannica of biblical. Over half the book are scripture. This is what impressed me so much the first time and blew me away about you, was so much scripture in here that it is so genuine, so authentic, and I'm not easily convinced about anything. So you went to this John Paul Jackson Institute for Spiritual Development. What prompted you to go?
Well, actually, I attended a bunch of these seminars, John Paul Jackson seminars, in different cities throughout the nation as he would, his group would do these teachings. What prompted me to go, and I have such a heart for helping people understand that God is real. He is talking to you. Everyone out there has an equal chance. You don't have to be gifted. You don't have to be anything. He's seeking you. And I'd like to just touch on that psychic thing. I truly believe many psychics have a revelatory gifting that God gave them at birth. But the problem is they are connecting to the wrong network. They are talking to the enemy's network. And if they would just click into the right network, God, and that is what he gave them that gift for, they would be able to hear so much. The gifting is a gift to hear what's going on. But that's what I want to spread with this book, is that God does talk to us, and it's okay to talk to God and hear God.
Well, you know, you make a very, very good point, is that the counterfeit always is a close imitation. I mean, it would be ridiculous for you to hand me a $100 bill with a picture of Bozo the Clown on it and try to pass it off to me as a $100 bill. You would make it as close to as possible, so that it would look and even in some ways feel like the counterfeit. I would have to be aware. And so people get sucked in all the time. There's something that sounds biblical, it sounds like it's God, but it's not really God. And that's this discerning of the spirits that God is calling us and commanding us. It's not a suggestion in the Bible for us to discern spirits. It is a command. And,
that's right.
And we've completely taken the instructions that are given to us and we put please and thank you in front of them, and there's no please and thank you there. There's no if you feel like it there. There's some 1,050 of those directives in the New Testament, and we treat them like they're optional. I come from a religious Jewish background where optional it didn't come into play. That just wasn't a part of the equation. So as you are taking these John Paul Jackson classes, what's stirring in you? Because there's something that is awakening. In the times I've spoken to you, pre-show, last show, in between breaks, before the show opens, there's something that is a radiance, a glow, something that is physically noticeable about you, that is a peace and a joy because you are flowing in the gift that God has given you. You know what the gift is and you are flowing in it, and that is perfection in God's economy when we are in and operating in the gifts He's given us.
Well, there too, I'm got to say, you're right. I do know it's real. I hear him talk. I hear him talk through everyday things, through symbols in all kinds of ways. But I hear him talk to other people too, and it breaks my heart that they're not getting that he's talking to them. And I just have this real desire it's all about, what this is about is our relationship with Jesus. And relationship means communion, talking back and forth and back and forth. And so many of us talk, but we don't hear back. And he's sitting there talking to them. And it just frustrates me to no end that these people don't hear that. And I do have a real heart for that. Because I see the pain that people have. And the Lord is pouring his honey over these people and salves for these people and giving them words, but they're just not getting it. And when you unfold these dreams are just one way God talks to us. There's so many ways. But when they start to unfold and people start to get, wow, he really does care enough about me to talk to me, they just change. Their life changes. They become completely different people. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just unwrap this gift God has given these people for them.
So you use Scripture in every way. You have researched and you have indexed the book in so many extraordinary ways. You have a dictionary of general symbols. You have a dictionary of theme symbols, places, body parts, animals and creatures, transportation, colors, people and being numbers and actions. And this represents literally over 50% of the book is scriptural reference and the linkage between the images God gives us in our dreams and how it connects to the messages that He gives us both in the written word and in the dreams of others, the visions of Daniel, the dreams of Joseph, the visions of Ezekiel, all of these tied together. And we've kind of taken the position that, well, that was for them, and they were the chosen ones. They were extraordinary. They made the book. We're just on the other side of this. We're nobodies. They were somebodies, and so I could never aspire to be an Ezekiel. I could never aspire to fill the office of the prophet. I could never aspire. But yet God is speaking to us the same way He spoke to them. We're just not getting it and connecting the two of them. And so this is your vision, your purpose in life, your calling, your ministry, is to connect that for people, to let them know that God's speaking to you in a profound way.
Exactly. You know, I believe the Bible is a template of how the Lord does work with us and interfaces in our lives. And all those people that were given those gifts, they're given, it says, God does not change. He is the same today as He was yesterday. So we can step into, and we are called to step into these things, not just sit back and watch, but be active participants. And you've summed it up beautifully. That's exactly my heart.
You know, it's interesting that God also says that He's no respecter of persons, and therefore the gifts are universal. The gifts are available to all for the asking. As a matter of fact, Moses even said, I wish the Spirit was available to everyone for the asking. Well, that came to pass in the book of Acts, and if you're a follower in Jesus, the Spirit's available to you, and it's through the Comforter. That's the amazing part, is that through this Paraclete, through this advocate, through this counselor, we're given this incredible dialogue that's always with us. It never leaves us. Jesus went on to sit at the right hand of the Father, but He sent one that never leaves our side, that's completely bonded to us because it's inside of us. Why don't we tap this extraordinary resource?
You know, I believe our people as a whole used to. But the age when rationalism hit, it became no longer fashionable. And then it turned not only into not fashionable, but it turned into almost nowadays, and it's even considered ludicrous, even to believe in God often on TV shows and things. Our society is looking down on anything that is not rational on one hand, but then on the other hand, they're lifting up all this spiritualism of the non-God stuff. It's kind of, they're not even being consistent. But I truly believe if you look at the old teachings, there was a lot more of this kinds of beliefs, but it's gotten lost. And I'm trying to point to the fact that it's still there. Nothing's changed. He hasn't changed.
Do you think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that some 67% of people are taking some type of sleep aid, and that is interfering with this capacity to have clarity in dreams or even to remember? We're in this stupefied state. Our senses are dulled. We've blocked off receptors that God has placed within us, that He would be able to speak to us, but we actually have this serotonin reuptake inhibitor. We have this melatonin, natural melatonin to help us sleep, but then we add to it some type of serotonin kind of booster, and then we add some kind of of numbing agent, an Ambien, something else, and then people talk about fuzziness. I was listening to Roseanne Barr on Hannity the other night, and her giving an explanation that this horrible tweet that she sent out was at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she was on Ambien, and she didn't even remember herself saying it or doing it. So if you're in a mind-altered state, how can you have clarity? And which comes first? Do I cut off the mind-altering drug and devote my night to the Lord and ask the Lord to be Lord of my sleep, which people don't do. They don't dedicate their night to the Lord, but yet 1/8 of our life is spent in this suspended animation stage, this equivalent to hibernation, where God has us all to himself. We are completely unconscious, so that the subconscious is completely revealed, because there's no inhibition in sleep. You don't compartmentalize, you don't cover up, you're opened up, but we're throwing all this dope on top of it. And are we cutting off a lot of the natural flow of the dialogue of a time that God has set for communication?
Yes, I believe you're right. In my experience in dealing with people, I've noticed there's two groups of people that take sleep aids. One are the ones who take a nominal sleep aid. They do it on a regular basis. They're used to it. And these kind of people, when they're used to it and it's not a very strong, the Lord still gives them their dreams. It's when, and for that group, it's when they do something different. If they are having an exceptionally bad night or whatever, and they take a really strong one, then the dreams are messed up. So God still can work through people if I mean, it's kind of, he can get past what they're used to, get past their body problems, and kind of put things in their spirit for dreams. But the people who are on these strong sleep aids night after night, you're right, they just don't hardly have a chance to hear any dreams from God. And there he's forced to use other methods to try to get past their block systems and speak into their lives. He doesn't do it usually through dreams.
Certainly the sovereignty of God can penetrate, can overcome, can reverse, can undo any type of sedative action. We've seen people who have overdosed on heroin who supernaturally come out of it and find themselves completely alone. They have no idea how they survived it, but God intervened. So we know that God is not limited by our Ambien. God's not limited by our drugs. God's not limited, but we're fuzzy, and our ability to remember, our ability to elucidate and really be able to give a clear description of the dream, we're still in a haze. Even if God has given us the most clear vision, we're kind of hazy in our ability to translate that.
I've noticed too, and this is something we're not really talking about, dreams is a word. John Paul Jackson defines dreams as being something that is given to you in a visual format that is metaphoric or symbolic. I'm paraphrasing that. But what that means is, I have a daughter that used to sit in high school, and she would talk to me about her daydreams, she called them, because she's wide awake, but she would get these visions, and the visions were metaphoric happenings, symbolic happenings that she would see, and they would just flash before her eyes of something. Those, so visions can often be fall under the same category as dreams if they are symbolic and metaphoric in nature. Visions can also be real. And my John Paul Jackson's definition of visions is that visions are real. If you see a dog in a vision, it's a dog. But if you see a dog in a symbolic dream, wide awake, then that dog may represent a pet issue or someone that is the helper to the shepherd. So it's symbolic.
We're talking with Marsha Dunstan, author of The Complete Guide to Dream Interpretation, a simple step-by-step process to biblical interpretation, a featured guest here on Revealing the Truth, appearing here on the first Monday of every month at the 10 o'clock hour. One of the reasons we have Marsha on is because to our audience, we're inviting you to send us your dreams. You can send them to me, Eric Walker, at IANBN.com. You can go to the contact form at ignitinganation.com, or you can send your dreams directly to Marsha herself at mtdunstan, DUNSTAN.com, and Marsha will write you back. I've solicited on the web several to provide dreams today. We had one that we had shared last time where the feedback was just stunning that Marsha was so spot on. And so when we come back from break, I have 4 dreams that have been sent to me that they've asked for your insight on. And one of the things we want to do is we want to talk about how you would apply listening to the dream, you taking your notes, and how you would use this resource, because your goal is to put this in the hands of every individual that they might themselves learn how to look up, research, reference their Bible, become more biblically literate, more biblically savvy, and be able to recognize things that God's trying to show them in their life and be able to act upon it, whether or not it's for correction, whether or not it's for redirection, whether or not it's for encouragement. There are many different reasons and different ways God speaks to us, dreams being one of them. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to rejoin Marsha Dunstan and talk about the Complete Guide to Dream Interpretation. We'll be right back. Shalom. I'm the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, Executive Director of Igniting a Nation and host of the daily TV program Revealing the Truth, seen live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time at www.ianbn.com, and then replayed throughout the day and night via our website. All of our segments can be seen on the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel. Since our launch in January of this year, we've expanded our global reach to over 54 countries with a social media following of over 125,000. Our commitment is to bring you the most in-depth interviews with authors, subject matter experts, and thought leaders from around the world. We have interviewed guests from Israel, Brazil, England, India, and all across North America. All of our authors are featured on the Books and Media page on our website, www.ianbn.com. There you can find a direct link to the book you want to order, and we receive a small commission directly from Amazon. There is no cost to you for this service. In addition to our daily teachings and interviews, we make available to you the archive of all of the interviews on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram channels. Our live program is available from our homepage, and there is never a charge to you for any of this access. We made the decision long ago that we would remain a commercial-free resource that would not be influenced by any pressure from any outside company. There are only 2 ways that we are able to continue to operate this ministry and provide you with the only live 4-hour daily Christian television talk show program. The first is through your support and tax-deductible contributions to Igniting a Nation. These can be made directly through the donate button on the website or sent through the mail to Igniting Nation, 2700 Corporate Drive, Suite 120, Birmingham, Alabama, 35242. The other way we support the program is by offering you a unique opportunity to have access to over 10 years worth of teachings on a subscription basis. The teaching archives contains all of my prior sermons, Torah studies, prophecy in the news videos, and much more for the low subscription price of $5 per month. This subscription grants you unlimited access to over 800 hours of content not available elsewhere and is updated weekly with the most current prophecy classes. In addition to 20 hours of original TV programming each weekday, we invite you to join us live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings for our Prophecy in the News classes. The times and locations are listed on our events page on the website www.ianbn.com. Every day, you and I are faced with the challenge of where we will go to hear the truth. We are committed to bring you the only program of its kind that covers the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. We cannot do this without your support. Since we launched on January 5th, 2017, we have aired over 300 individual teachings, interviews, and commentaries not available anywhere else. We are now working side by side with almost every major Christian publishing house to bring you the most in-depth feature interviews possible. Our one-hour features address every subject that affects the believer's life. We are hearing of salvations from the Middle East, Africa, and all across the United States. Lives are being changed every day, and we have only just begun. Our mission is to become your trusted resource and grant you access to the people, tools, and information you need to grow in your relationship with the Lord. You can help us by liking us on social media and through your financial support. We know you have many choices in who you support, but we are prayerfully asking you to consider helping us keep revealing the truth, true to our calling, to cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth like no other program available. Donate today and help us bring the message to the four corners of the earth. Visit www.ianbn.com and donate, buy a book, or subscribe to our teaching archives. Without you, we do not exist. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Marsha Dunstan, host of this hour as a featured guest, the Complete Guide to Dream Interpretation, a simple step-by-step process to biblical interpretation. Marsha, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, I solicited from our audience several who have written to me, who have given me dreams to share, and I wanted to share those dreams with Marsha so that not only could she give us an interpretation, but she could also help us navigate how to use this extraordinary resource. One of the things that we don't normally get to do in a how-to kind of book is actually put the book to use on the program. So we've asked Marsha to be a featured guest here to come on once a month, and that gives you an opportunity, our audience, to email us through our website, ignitingnation.com. Send us your dreams, and we'll cover them with Marsha. Send the dreams directly to Marsha at our website at mtdunstan, DUNSTAN.com, and Marsha will reply to you. So, Marsha, the first dream that I want to share with you comes from one of our audience, and it says that their significant other and I are in a pickup truck. I gaze at him as we cross the railroad tracks. The lights nor the crossing arms are signaling. When I look towards him, the train hits his side violently and immediately and pushes us down the tracks, and the dream ends.
All right. The first thing I do when someone gives me a dream, or even if it's my own, is write it out. And the process of writing it out itself kind of gives the Lord time to talk to you about it. And then I kind of go back, and of course I ask the Lord, Father God, help me tell them, because it's not about you, it's about them. Tell them what you want them to know. So we do ask that in the name of Jesus right now. And then we do look at the symbols and look at who this dream is about. The focus, well, the focus is the dreamer and her significant other that are together in this truck. And a sub-focus is what is happening. What's the plot here? Well, the plot is they're getting hit by the train. So that's kind of summarizes the whole dream. Now we look at the symbols. Symbols, pickup truck. What is a pickup truck? Well, if a vehicle is a personal ministry, especially if the pickup truck isn't something they really have in real life, but it just shows up in this dream, it's probably speaking of a ministry or a work that can handle rugged terrain. So think of the metaphor of that, or the symbolic nature of that. So this is probably speaking of their work, and they're together in this. She is gazing at him. It doesn't say who's driving. I didn't hear you say that. They probably didn't tell you, I would guess. But that may be significant. Maybe they're in the back seat of this truck and neither is driving, but if one of them is driving, it kind of indicates who's in charge of this work. But they're getting ready to cross a intersection with a train. And what is a train? A train is often a powerful movement or a great power. So somehow this ministry that they're in that handles rough terrain is coming across the tracks of a larger ministry. And what happens is, bam, they are hit head on. They are hit, not head on, but actually they're hit on the side. And the one that's going to get hurt first is her significant other by this. I would say this is speaking of a work or a ministry you two are involved in, and somehow you've crossed lines with a larger ministry. Maybe you're trying to work under this, but you've come at odds, and there's going to be a fallout from that. And really the one that's going to get hit first will be the significant other. Now, it does push you down the tracks, which tells me in the dream that you're going to be a little off on what you're trying to do. It's going to be pushing you a wrong direction, a side direction you don't really want to go. But the good news is it doesn't say it's destroyed you. It doesn't say you're dead or anything like that. So it does say there's conflict. So why did the Lord give you this dream? Probably because there is something like that that either has happened or is happening or is going to happen real quick. And he's preparing you for this. And he's letting you know, I'm there with you. I know this is going to happen.
You know, this case, this case, they just texted me and said that the man was in the driver's seat, and he was the one that was hit first, and it did push them down the tracks, and it was impacted. It was hit on his side, and knowing a little bit about the situation. If it wasn't ministry related, could it be marriage related? Could this be something speaking to their relationship, or is it? I mean, marriage is a ministry. The home is the ministry. So within the larger context, we would say that always, all marriage, all home, all of that falls in the category of ministry. Does that apply here?
Did they say whether they have the truck and whether the truck is theirs, or did it just show up in this dream? If it just showed up in the dream, it's probably not talking about their own personal life. But if it is their vehicle that they're in, it could very well be speaking. A vehicle can often be your life. And your home value and your family and that sort of thing. And it could be their marriage situation. But whatever it is, and that may be a clue as to whether they were actually in their own vehicle or if they were in another. If they're in another, I would guess it could be speaking more of some kind of work, maybe even a work. It may not be a ministry, it may even be a work, but it's going to clash with something else that's bigger that's going to hit them.
Gotcha. Okay. The next dream shared was a little bit more complicated. They write, I saw myself walking along a gravel road towards a home destination alongside a thing I was bound to. The thing was semi-human, eyes and mouth not formed, neck insufficiently supports the head, and the body is translucent. We walk, and I have fear. Fear this creature will devour or kill. We walk past a house slightly uphill from the road. There are what seems to be friends gathered on the deck at that house. One of the people the dreamer recognizes is a computer tech from their work. The creature / human staggers up towards the gathering. There is nothing I can do. I have a feeling that if I know the creature human is a killer, if I allow the creature human to kill or sacrifice one person, all the rest will be okay, and I can control this creature human to go with me. I consider that I have saved people from horrible death, but I remain a lifelong prisoner to this thing, and I am the barrier to it and others getting hurt. This was a dream they had in May of this year.
Wow. This to me is speaking of, here too, if you look at the focus of the dream is the person, the dreamer herself or himself. And the subfocus is whatever is attached to it. So the dream is essentially about that right there. And if you want to try to define or look at what this is that they're dealing with, it's something they're bound to. You know, that it's semi-human, so it affects humanity. We know that. But the eyes and mouth are not formed. So that tells me it's something that's not seeing correctly. By correctly, I mean seeing things the way the Lord sees things. The mouth not formed. So it's not speaking correctly, meaning not speaking the way the Lord would be speaking. The neck, insufficient to support the head of it. So your neck is often your will or the ability to turn. And so the support system isn't proper, isn't the body translucent. There's no substance to this thing. So this is not of God. We know that by this description. And we also know this person feels bound to it. Let's see, I have a fear, that it's going to devour. So this is something this person is really struggling with. Now, what is this? This could be, it could be some kind of addiction. It could be a person, someone that has come against them. I'm thinking it might be more of in the areas of an addiction, because she says it's semi-human. It seems to be kind of a step away from a human. It could be smoking, or who knows what this thing is. But friends, now, as she's struggling, she's walking on a gravel pathway. Well, our pathway is our walk, the way we are going through life. Gravel is a hard walk. It can be a little testy there. And as she's walking, she's got a fear of this, and she's walking uphill. Look at the metaphor of that. She's kind of struggling in her regular walk. Now it speaks of her bringing this thing into a work environment. Why would somebody show up in her dream that is a computer tech person from work? Well, it's because that's symbolic probably of this also affecting her workplace. So, and this creature staggers. Now, the rest of that, if you don't mind, Eric, kind of reading the end of that, I would appreciate it. Where
Sure. It
okay.
says, I have a feeling that if I know the creature is, the creature staggers up towards the gathering, there's nothing they can do. They have a feeling that if I know that the creature is a killer, if I allow it to kill or sacrifice one person, everybody else will be okay, and then I can control the creature to go with me. I consider that I have saved people from horrible death, but I remain a lifelong prisoner to this thing, and I am the barrier to it and others getting hurt.
Wow. Okay, this person seems to be, whatever this is that they're bound to is not of the Lord, but they are figuring they have to sacrifice themselves out of duty to whatever this is in order to keep this from hurting other people. It's almost like a codependency or an abuse type situation that is coming upon people, and this person is trying to run interference for whatever this is and kind of giving themselves over to whatever this thing is. I think it has something to do with her work or his work environment, or at least it's affecting the work environment. But I'm not sure exactly what it is they're dealing with. It's not a person. I'm almost positive it's not a person that is, unless it's a head of a corporation or a head type situation that they are dealing with, an entity, a big corporation movement. But there's some despair in this, and that's really sad. So so why would the Lord give this dream to you? And I would say the Lord is telling you, first of all, he knows what is going on and what you're dealing with, probably about it, but much better than you know what's going on. And he's right there with you. And he gives us these dreams to help us see our actions and reactions to things and how sometimes they're not right. As an example in this, giving herself up for this monster thing that she's bound to so it doesn't hurt others isn't necessarily a right approach. In her mind, it's a right approach, but it's more of a codependent type of approach. A more healthy approach would be to step away from it and take it down. And the Lord is trying to let her know he is with them, with you or her as she's going through this stuff.
It's interesting if we look at this and say, okay, what if the characters are husband and wife? Because it does imply that it's a significant other. I would assume that means husband and wife. Kind of, I don't know, the continuation of this struggle to try to walk and work this out, but yet the partner is empty, devoid of character, devoid of spirit, devoid. It's a talking head that is has the potential to consume or devour, and it's almost a self-sacrifice. That if I stay in this, I'm going to protect a lot of people, but I'm going to become devoured in this, and whatever it is that I'm imprisoned myself to, I need to break this chain. Otherwise, I'm going to be the one that's going to lose my life. I think it may be noble because I'm protecting all the lives of everybody around me in this noble gesture, but the reality is God's not asking me to make the sacrifice. Jesus has already made that sacrifice. I need to be set free from this prison that I find myself in, because it seems like they're indelibly linked together, and that unless the person, the author, the one this dream was given to, unless they either destroy the creature, which doesn't even come into play here. It just says, if I let them go and take one, then I know I can control them. Well, that one would have to be the dreamer. Okay? It's not going to be a total stranger. It's a self-sacrifice.
You know, that's a very good, and I'm going to backpedal a little bit, because you're right. This could very well be, when they're speaking semi-human and eyes not formed and mouth and all that, it could be speaking of a spouse or a significant other that is operating out of non-godly. There's a demonic influence. Yes. I'm not saying there's a demon in them, by no means, but you know, there's a demonic influence at least.
The description of the semi-human, eyes and mouth not formed, neck insufficiently, body's translucent, devoid of spirit,
exactly.
But not the embodiment. This is a demonic description of something that is semi-human but not human, sounding more like what we would look at in Genesis 6 as the offspring of the B'nai Elohim, the sons of God, taking the daughters of man, and their offspring are this race of Nephilim that can take on many forms and many deformities. We don't really know the entire complexity of this, but it sounds like a merging of righteousness and wickedness which cannot coexist. Therefore, there's a transparency there.
But I do believe it's also, as you pointed out, and I mentioned, that there's somewhat of a codependency thing Yes. going on here, where she needs to, or he, whatever the situation is, needs to get away from this, or if you can't get away, if it's a spouse, then deal with it rightly. Get counseling, go and deal with this situation as it should be dealt with, and see it as it should be dealt with through God's eyes.
Okay, we have a couple minutes. I have a short one. I have several dreams this year repeating that my spouse is unfaithful. Various scenarios, clothes he is wearing are important. Like one time in my dream, he had on the tie that I bought for him to wear in our wedding. Very vividly, that tie.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Boy, unfaithfulness, symbolically, of course, if it's a vision, it is speaking of unfaithfulness. You know, he is being unfaithful, and it could always be a vision. It could be what it is. And the tie is representing the marriage tie. But unfaithfulness, metaphorically, can be speaking of they're doing things in a wrong way. You know, all through the Bible, the Lord speaks of the church as being unfaithful. And it's because they're chasing other gods, and they're doing all kinds of things that they shouldn't be doing. So unfaithfulness, metaphorically, can mean not that he's out having an affair, but that he's doing something that is not healthy for the family situation. And I think I would advise this person to start with that and ask the Lord to reveal to her what is going on exactly, whether it's something she needs to deal with or just whatever. Apparently it is something she needs to deal with, or he wouldn't have given her this dream in the first place.
Right.
But for sure she needs to start praying about it and pray that it will be exposed. And he, I'm assuming it's a he because it said he's wearing a tie, but that he will be exposed for what's going on, so it can be all come out and be healed. But I would hesitate to jump right in there and accuse him of an affair, because dreams are often metaphoric and symbolic. So unfaithful could mean all kinds of things.
Well, this has been a wonderful hour with you, but unfortunately our hour is up. And I want to encourage our audience to tune in on the first Monday of every month at the 10 o'clock Central Time hour as we spend time with Marsha Dunstan, author of The Complete Guide to Dream Interpretation, a simple step-by-step process to biblical interpretation. You too can put this to practice in your life. Visit the books and media page of ignitinganation.com. Click on the book, order a copy for yourself. And during the course of the next 30 days until we come to the first of next month, and we have this time again, email us. Post your dreams on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. Email me through our website, ignitinganation.com, on our contact sheet at info at Igniting a Nation. Go to Marsha's website. It is mtdunstan.com. And Marsha is happy to give you insights. We are not telling you that these are absolutes. What we're trying to do is point you in a direction that is scriptural to look for what God is trying to show you. Only you know what your relationship is with the Lord. Only you know the players in the dream and what their relationship might be with the Lord and what role you might be being asked to play. So before we jump to conclusions that this means this and this means that and these are absolutes, we're creating a framework for you of understanding and how to process and look to the Lord for the truth. That is what this is all about. We are not a program of psychics and trying to give you dream interpretations based on the whims and fancy of the blowing wind of the day. We're using biblical examples as to how God shows us about our walk and how He uses things like a gravel road. Your feet are unstable. Your feet are shifting. It's an easy picture to place when we put it in biblical terms, and that's what Marsha is committed to do. Marsha, a delight to be back with you. Look forward to seeing you again next month. In the meantime, get a copy of her book. It is entitled The Complete Guide to Dream Interpretation. Marsha Dunstan. You can get it through our website, ignitinganation.com, or Amazon Books A Million, Lifeway, everywhere where good Christian books are sold. Get your copy today. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.